Welcome to Seavine, We the People. This is Linda Forsythe, and today is May 1st, 2020. Today is Law Day. It's the first day via executive order that President Trump put out and had stated that he wanted everybody to sit back and consider what Law Day was or what it is. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. We also have on our show today, we have Ron Osk, our attorney, which is perfect for Law Day. And we're going to be talking about a number of things about why we the people are just so sick to death of all these individuals breaking the law and getting away with literally proverbially murder. And many, many other things, usurping our constitutional rights. The list is just an ongoing situation. So I think it's important and very, very noteworthy that Trump went out of his way to do this executive order to point things out. Now, Ron has a few more things to say about Law Day, about how this was actually around before, but as I look at it here, it looks like Trump made a couple of amendments to it with his executive order. But before we begin here, I would like to go over a few things. I am sharing my screen, and then I will go ahead and we'll start talking with Ron. I'd like you to take note about what Seavine is. Seavine stands for Community Voices, Investigations, News, and Education. That's what we're all about. So we have multiple facets going on. We are not just the news. On our website at c-vine.com, that's c-vine.com, you can go there and you will find that every single day we've got hundreds of volunteers that come together and get out there and vet breaking news to find out exactly what is real, what is truthful, and what is factual. And that is what we post. Anything and only anything that has been vetted by our investigators. And there's a number of our investigators that are licensed investigators, prior police officers, etc. You can go down and you can see all the various different news stories that we have here. Also, we request, once you come to our website, come here to the top in the upper right-hand corner, register and become a member of our website. If something happens, we go off of social media or whichever, we have an entire forum on here, which I'm not going to get into, but you can have all the conversation and see everything you need to as a member of our website. And of course, since we are a foundation, nobody gets paid. Everybody is a volunteer. We very much depend upon your donations. Up here at the top, you can see there's a donation page. You can go ahead and choose when you sign up as a membership, if you want to, for a monthly payment amount of maybe like $5, $1. Goes very, very far. There's also one-time payment amounts there. And if you are so inclined, we even have a Seavine store. Has all different types of hats and shirts. We even have masks that I think you'll like that our graphic designers had created for us and donated for this. Now, if you want to have some really heavy duty conversation and discussion, we have a lot of the stuff of what we have going on Facebook. On Facebook, that's right. So on Facebook, even though some of you may not like it, on the group page, which is Facebook group Seavine News Talk. That's Seavine News Talk, where we have the Seavine International News Network. We have 27,000 members now. A large majority of them are very active. They work together in helping to vet the news, and do discussions, debate, everything, as long as it's respectful. We have a lot going on there. If on Sundays, also throughout the rest of the week, we also have on a different group page, a Seavine Patriot Prayer Brigade. Every Sunday, we have the prayer meeting, so to speak. And it's kind of like the old-fashioned, like in the book of Acts, where people were in the home, especially now with lockdown. That has come in very handy. And please put all of your prayer requests for yourself or other family members down in the comments below the top, where we have the latest video that was going on that particular Sunday. Cynthia Hayes does a wonderful job. So just put your prayer request down there with people all over the world that's coming here to pray for our country, pray for our family. Read the comments, pray for other people, and please give your own needs. And also, just FYI, one last thing, prayer, we have a Seavine Natural health group. This is also a health group, and we discussed all the natural cures and etc. going on there. So that is what we have going on. All right, let's get right back to Ron here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Welcome back, Ron Ask. That's spelled A-S-K. Ron Ask is the Seavine attorney. He has created our foundation. He's donated a lot of his time, and his entire team has, quite frankly, and we're very, very thankful for him. I have brought him here today to discuss the rule of law on Law Day. Welcome back, Ron.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we had you on last week, and we had a lot of very, very positive comments about your insights and so on. Well, you have been an attorney for a long time, and you specialize in elder law, but you are also very, very much a patriot, as we can see in your background. And let's talk a little bit, since it is Law Day. Now, you mentioned something to me just before the show, that before Trump did his executive order, there was a Law Day by Dwight Eisenhower. Did I hear you correctly?
That's correct. Incidentally, my engineer, my assistant Cameron's here with me. Hello. And he researched this for me just before we logged in. And Dwight Eisenhower declared it to be Law Day in 1958, May 1st, 1958. It was later made into Public Law 87-20 on April 7th, 1961. And it's probably not celebrated notoriously, but it's been in effect ever since then.
Well, I don't think most people even knew about it, especially the last, I don't know, 16 years. When
I agree with you. Not many people knew about it.
Yeah, I certainly didn't. But when he put out his executive order, let me read to you here one aspect of it that he said. And I quote you here as I am reading. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in accordance with Public Law 87-20 as amended, do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2020 as Law Day USA. I urge all Americans, including government officials, to observe this day by reflecting upon the importance of the rule of law in our nation and displaying the flag of the United States in support of this national observance. And I especially urge the legal profession, the press, and the radio, television, and media industries to promote and to participate in observance of this day. Well, isn't that interesting? He for the most part took what has already been in place, and I think he amended it a little bit, showed a little bit more patriotism, and I personally think that he's making people out themselves on who is not really behind our country, because what media is going to ignore this executive order to start doing this? Well, Seavine's doing our part. We are going all out, patriotic. We have got even a surprise here at the end. But let's get back to what Law Day probably is about, Trump style. Now, we all are, most of us, are a little frustrated about what was going on with General Flynn. Ron, can you go ahead and just give a brief background on what happened with General Flynn and what appears to be coming down the pike now?
Well, it's obvious that there was a concerted effort, an organized effort to take Donald Trump out
Good at top.
at a bit about this time, okay? And they couldn't seem to take him out by himself, so they were taking him out one notch at a time. So they targeted General Flynn. They did an investigation on him and determined that they just didn't have enough to to take him on, to take him in. So they communicated with one another, and as you know, Peter Strzok, the infamous boyfriend of the lawyer,
Lisa Page? No, is it
Page,
Lisa?
yeah.
Okay.
And so he sends out an email, a memo, whatever it was, and said, look, if you, if in essence, if you can't take him out because you don't have any goods on him, maybe we can, in essence, trick him into making a statement that'll give us enough to arrest him. Period. As you probably know, it's a crime to lie to an FBI officer.
Usually.
And so Flynn gets a call saying, listen, we're sending a couple of officers over that want to have a little chat with you. It's just a little chat. You don't need a lawyer around or anything. Just answer their questions. And he thinks they lead him to believe that they're on his side, that they're part of the team. So he's very candid with him. And the fact of the matter is they never caught him in a lie. But then they threatened to arrest his son and threatened to charge him with a crime and imprison him. And that's when Flynn says, hey, wait a minute. I'm not going to allow you to take my son. I'll plead guilty to whatever you need. Just leave my son alone. He lost his, he had to give up his house. He had to file bankruptcy. He lost his house, lost his reputation, and he's been going through this ordeal for 3 years. Now, a very, very famous lawyer. Now my mind went blank. He's a very famous former U.S. attorney. Took his case recently. It turns out that the U.S. Attorney's Office that prosecutes these cases has been getting away with, I don't want to say murder, but most of the time they're more dishonest than the crooks that they're putting in prison. And so one of the things that a prosecuting attorney is bound by law to do is to turn over all evidence to the other side, and particularly exculpating evidence. In other words, if there's any evidence whatsoever that might lead in the direction of not guilty or innocence, they have to turn it over. But they have to turn over everything. There's a rule on that. It's an absolute rule.
Rule of law.
The federal judges over the years have become more and more lax about enforcing that law. They're letting these attorneys get away with murder, and that's what they did in his case. They never, ever turned over the exculpating evidence. This goes all the way back to the Enron case. If any of you remember the Enron case out of Texas, where Enron had done a few things that weren't exactly right. But in the process of all that, the world's biggest accounting firm, that was Arthur Andersen, 85,000 employees. They're a very honorable CPA firm worldwide. They destroyed some documents in the course of business. And we all do. We all have shredders, and we shred documents that we have no use for anymore. That's what they did. They shredded a few documents, and for that, they were prosecuted for a crime. And that crime destroyed that company and put 85,000 people out of work. Plus, of course, some people that worked for Enron went to prison, and some people that worked for a major Wall Street brokerage office went to jail. That attorney that took on that case to reverse things now took on Flynn's case, and you've seen her on TV recently, and I'm quite sure that at some point they're going to have to dismiss these charges. I don't see how. Let him withdraw his plea. The rule used to be, and still is, that once you've pled out, you can't you cannot enforce the law that requires them to turn over the exculpatory evidence. I think now there's going to be so much heat on this judge, the judge is going to have to order them to turn it over, and most of it's been turned over. So that's where we're at.
Okay, well, before I go on, first of all, thank you. Thank you for outlining that. I appreciate it. Just so you're aware, every time you move, we can hear your chair squeak.
I'm sorry.
Don't move. No,
I'm a little bit too animated.
Yes, you are. But with that being said, everything that you were talking about with Flynn, there are so many instances that we, the people, have been seeing for years and years, without even going through the entire laundry list of everything that people, you say they're getting away with murder. I mean, that's a cliche, but they are indeed, I believe, also getting away with murder. Let's look at Seth Rich and a number of different things. But even when you go in California here, and I'm just talking about because this is our area where you and I are at, with the lockdown because of the pandemic, I mean, there is a lot more than just not going by the rule of law. We're also infringing upon our constitutional rights. So why don't you talk a little bit, because you were mentioning that before, about the constitutional right, and keep in mind we have about 5 minutes to discuss that particular subject.
Well, of course, the big thing is shutting down all these businesses. Now, I don't disagree that the nation had to do something to stop everything dead in its tracks to try to figure out what was going on. So I don't find any fault with that. But the businesses that are suffering, of course, are the mom and pops, the small businesses. Yeah. When they did the bailout the other day, the big corporations had billion-dollar checks in their hands the same day. That whole 300 and some odd billion was spent within hours or minutes. The LA Lakers got a few million. Harvard University got a few million. Ruth's Chris Steakhouses got a few million. And the average Joe Blow with a restaurant or a hair salon, whatever the case may be, a bar, didn't get 5 cents. Now, there's supposed to be round two, and I guess there is a round two, but the point is that all those K Street lobbyists were all lined up with their hand out. The minute that Congress passed the law, the minute that Trump signed the bill, they were standing there in line with their hand out, getting those billion-dollar checks. And John Q. Public, Joe Blow, didn't get 5 cents. So a cornerstone of a democracy, of a democratic society versus a socialistic society, is private property. Without private property, without ownership, you've got nothing. And what's happening right now is that we have hundreds, thousands of small business people that are losing everything they have. They aren't just shut down. They're losing everything. And if they don't get this thing unlocked real fast, we're going to have chaos. We're going to have a catastrophe that's even worse than what we have right now. And then you have, I shouldn't call him a Looney Tune, Governor Gruesome, but I mean, this guy's a complete socialist nut. He's going to rue the day. He was getting along fine. He wasn't doing too bad. The public was going along with it until he shut those beaches down. So now he's got 1 million people or more in Orange County that they're pissed off. That's the word. Okay. Okay.
That's an understatement.
And I hope they go after him. I hope they take him down. This guy is the worst governor we have ever had in the history of our state.
Oh, I don't know. I think he's running neck and neck with Brown there.
Well, okay, it's a contest, okay? It's the absolute worst legislature we have ever had in this state. Yes. And we've had a lot of bad ones, but these are the worst of the worst, okay? So, and I mentioned last week, AB 5, I mean, the worst law I've ever seen put in the books, where they took all the private contractors out of business. I mean, it was unbelievable that this type of thing happens. And so we go on and on and on and on. And now you've got huge numbers of healthcare workers out of work. You got hospitals that are going bankrupt. You got doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers that don't have a job because they shut down all procedures that didn't have anything to do with the coronavirus. So now that they're slacking up a little bit, the public is scared to death to go in the hospitals. These hospitals are literally going bankrupt. We're going to need these hospitals. We're going to need the hospitals. We're going to need the doctors. We're going to need the nurses. And all because of Looney Tune governance in Sacramento. I mean, this is terrible.
You know, there was a member, a Seavine, that made an outstanding point. It's already been proven that we know how and are willing and capable of social distancing, okay? Just using a little common sense and maybe certain guide stones on the way. It's been proven that we can go out and we can wear masks in the meantime, not only for protection for ourselves, but for those that maybe have lower immune systems. It's been proven that we can do this. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard to do. So to be able to shut down all businesses instead of just the couple few is insanity. And so to be able to open up the rest of the businesses, keeping things in place for caution. I'm not talking about fear mongering. I'm not talking about, being afraid of what might happen. But for a little while, open up all the businesses and continue doing what you're doing, at least for the time being, until we get things in a little bit better order and moving forward, because it's just turning into tyranny, and it's going to be a huge, huge mess if they don't do something quick. And quite frankly, this is what I've noticed. People are fed up. We're not going to wait around anymore. We're not going to wait around for them to get their act together and to start figuring things out, why our entire livelihoods and everything about what we keep together as a family, our homes, the roofs over our heads, our health care, and everything else, we're not going to wait around anymore. You can do it correctly. You can do it carefully. You can do it cautiously, and you can do it right, but you need to do it. And this is why I personally think that Trump is pushing and putting out more about the rule of law, because as you know, I've been covering the 9/11 KSM et al. Military tribunals that are coming out of Guantanamo Bay. And I did that for over a year last year. And towards the end, I got fed up because of all of the shenanigans going on behind the scenes. I'm gonna come back out, and I'm just gonna spill the beans and everything that I'd seen and what has been going on, and my 2 cents worth. There's some good things happening, some very good things coming very, very quickly here. And a lot of it has to do with taking charge of what rules and laws we already have in place and implementing them. Making certain that things are moved forward with and exactly by design on what we had for our Constitution, and stop allowing the people that we vote into office to suddenly become our rulers. We, the people, are the rulers. We basically hire, via voting, individuals to represent our wishes, the majority. And of course, the minority has some rights too, of course. But it's doing it in a way that has been proven to work quite well, has basically been kicked to the curb. In the socialistic government is trying to be brought in. Okay, I'm getting on a soapbox. I'm going to shut up. That is what Law Day is about, is to start thinking about what we already have in place. What you do every day, Ron, is to make certain that the law is in place and that justice is served. That's what a good attorney does, and you are a very good attorney. So that's what I have a feeling, as we talked about Flynn, things are coming down the pike here. I think he's going to be exonerated. And you think he's going to be?
I think he will be completely exonerated. That's what I think. I don't see how they cannot do it. I mean, this was a total setup. It was totally rigged. It's an atrocity. It's a national disgrace. If an FBI agent came in my office right now, I would say, look, sir, I don't know if I'd say, sir, look, I'm not going to have a conversation with you under any circumstances. If you'd like to put the cuffs on me, that's fine. Take it and put me in custody if you'd like. But I am not going to have a conversation with you under any circumstances. You'd have to be out of your mind to have a talk with them. So they've disgraced the entire FBI, the Justice Department, and there'll be more and more coming out on this thing, I think, in the next few days. There's going to be, they're not done. They're not done with this by any stretch of imagination.
Oh, I think the proverbial stuff is going to hit the fan in a big way. Things are ramping up. People see it. And quite frankly, if they don't, there's going to be a few people that are going to take things in hand. But I think Trump and the military and family are our family all around us. We see that and we trust Trump. We know what his plan is. And things are coming down the pike here pretty quick. We are definitely watching things happen. That's for sure. Well, Ron, we've come to the end of our time here. I'm going to stop sharing the screen for the time being. I want to let you know that our volunteers at Seavine have put together a video, and we have done it in recognition of Law Day. And in this case, we have Joe Lynn live, who is one of our members, who is going to be singing the national anthem. And it was put to the video with a 9/11 theme. And on Law Day, I think as you watch this and listen to it, there is something else here that also must be dealt with very quickly. And I'm watching it very closely, having to do with 9/11 and the tribunals. So I am going to go back and share the screen here. Okay, sit back and enjoy.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting
I'll tell you, thank you very much, Joe Lynn Live, and also Bob Varuga, who put together the video for us. They all donated their time. Gives us a lot to think about. Rule of law coming back is going to have everything to do with how our country comes back. So think about what needs to happen and what we need to bring back, something we already have in place. Thank you, Ron, again for joining us today. We'll see you next Friday. And have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Lynn. It's a pleasure.
I'm going to get you an oil can.